I just had a nice rooftop breakfast at my riad. I'm about to meet up with a group to visit a Berber village or two in the nearby Atlas Mountains. We'll also hike to a waterfall and take a meal in a Berber home, among other things. So this should be fun. Our first stop is in the Agafay Desert at a place offering camel rides. I'm not particularly keen on the idea. I've ridden enough camels in my lifetime. But sometimes you just go with it. This is, of course, a desert that we are in, but it's not the typical desert that you may think of when you think of Morocco even. Not like the sand desert of the Sahara. What sets it apart, it's a rock desert, not a sand desert. In case you're wondering, the camel in front of me and my camel appear to be very close. They are literally very close, but it's because they're tied together. There's a noose around the neck of my camel. At first I hadn't noticed the noose, and I thought these camels might be close in another way. I think you can appreciate how rugged this terrain is. It looks as though nothing would grow on it without irrigation. We passed a large reservoir with a dam, which explains these isolated olive groves, because they have water. My camel may or may not have a name, but it does have an ID tag with the number 5504. So I guess if anybody asks, I'll tell them I'm riding 5504. How we doing back there?
You're okay.
Okay. It's early in the day. It's not a hot day anyway. It probably would be about in the low 80s Fahrenheit. There's a nice, soft, cool breeze blowing. Thank you very much.
Of course.
My only regret is that about 2/3 of the way through, my camera battery died. Ever try to change a battery on a camel? Wasn't happening. The Agafay Desert ascends into a series of steps that buffer the Atlas Mountains from everything around it. The landscape is harsh, desolate, magnificent, each plateau more splendid than the next. As we approach the mountains, evidence of the devastating earthquake that struck the region in September 2023. A roadside riad, uninhabitable, and tents along the road where people whose homes were destroyed still live. We've stopped briefly at a little village for a breakfast snack, some bread and oils and some mint tea. The olive oil, which is one of the oils served here, is, I think, my favorite. I don't know when was the last time I tasted olive oil quite like this. Should be the place for it. The other claim to fame is argan, used prominently in cosmetics the world over. And here, it's served in a dish on a plate to eat with your breakfast bread, and it is delicious. This is a little place just south of the place that I just showed you, where the earthquake damage was clearly visible. It's still fairly early in the morning, but the aroma coming off these cookers is very appealing. It looks like they're gearing up to serve a lot of tagine here. Tagine. Oh, that's beautiful and delicious. More evidence of the earthquake. We set off on a hike headed up the mountainside. This trail promises to be lovely already. Well, the village you see on the cliffs across from this trail is where we're headed. You can be as isolated as you wish in this country, and as long as you're near any village, any settlement, that means you're also near a mosque, which is why you may be able to hear the call to prayer. All of these villages here in the Atlas Mountains are Berber villages. I think you heard me say that Morocco has two official languages, Arabic and Berber. Well, if it really isn't as simple as that, because even though we say people speak Berber, there's not a single Berber language any more than there's a single Berber ethnicity. In fact, there are 40 different languages that are part of the Berber family of languages. And in terms of religious diversity among the Berber, that has practically disappeared, as probably 98-99% of the Berber population has been assimilated. They are now Muslim. Berber children learn their language from birth, the local language. But when they start to school, their instruction is in Arabic. And then in about the third grade, French is introduced into the curriculum. And in high school, or those who attain high school, English is then taught. So you can sort of empathize with the Moroccan government's decision not to overdo it. And so they do not teach the Berber language in the schools formally. We're coming up onto the entry of the village, so we should take a first glimpse of this village in a moment. The main thing to know about the Berbers is that they are a pre-Arabic native people of North Africa's Maghreb, which is basically Libya, Tunisia, Algeria, and Morocco. They were here long before the Arab Muslims began to arrive after the Prophet Muhammad's time in the 700s CE. And thereafter, for what is referred to as a great migration of Muslims eastward across North Africa that continued for 1,000 years. These villages may be isolated, but they have a marvelous age-old irrigation system to divert water from these mountain streams to circulate through the villages. There are 4 or 5 villages already, very small ones, but nonetheless villages since the time we began this trail. They all appear to be connected by these captured streams, so that people can live up here at altitude and have plenty of water. We've come upon the source of some of that water, this beautiful waterfall. I'm tripping around because the rocks are very uneven here, even on the trail. In the opening of a narrow canyon. Ice cold oranges, kept cold by fresh mountain water. Those are apple trees, which makes sense, I guess, given the altitude. Apples and walnuts are the 2 chief agricultural crops of these villages. And earlier, before I could actually pull out my camera, they were a couple of apple harvesters taking down the last of the crop on a burro. They had the burros loaded with boxes of apples on each side. The burros, by the way, here, my guide Jamal tells me, are referred to as Berber 4x4s, which makes sense because every human thing brought up here in these rugged mountains has been brought up here by burro, whether it's bricks or food, whatever. That's how it got here. And now we come in to the walnut trees. Just as beautiful a walnut grove as you'll see.
Ismail.
Ismail.
My name is Hussein. My name is Hussein.
Hussein.
Aye.
Those are beautiful names.
Yes, yes.
Are you boys working today?
Wait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're learning your English and your French very well. Okay, see you guys later.
What is your right?
My name is Ron.
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 One.
R-O-N. Ron.
One.
Yeah. So long.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye. We've hiked back down the mountain to the village of Imlil. And I think the next order of business is lunch.
Can you take a picture of everybody? Yeah.
Looks amazing.
Looks amazing.
Smells amazing.
I'm on the rooftop terrace of the family at whose home we've just enjoyed a great lunch. One of the things that I would say about this village is that the people who lived here have built beautiful earthen homes multi-storied, most of them, that are in perfect keeping with this mountain setting. And yet they've left one another plenty of space. It isn't what you would think of in a typical Arabic village, but there's elbow room. This village lies at the cusp of the high Atlas Mountains, and it's often used as a point of departure for mountaineers setting off to climb Mount Toubkal, which is Morocco's tallest mountain. One of the wonderful things about this place, at least this neighborhood, which is up above the town proper, is that there are no streets up here. Despite these homes being very pleasant, you might even call them luxurious, especially with regard to their fabulous views. There are trails that get to them, but no cars running past. I'm sure that presents a burden for bringing food and other necessities into these homes. But boy, does it make a great place to live. You know, we're only 2 hours or less out of Marrakesh, and it truly is a different world here. Like going from a low desert to the high mountains through a progression of plateaus that we've come up through since morning. If you come to Marrakesh, you must take a day to come up into these mountains.